In the last few days, tensions around Iran have surged again. Not because of missiles in the air, but because of something said behind closed doors. Saudi Arabia's defense minister is now reportedly warning Washington that not striking Iran could actually make Tehran stronger. And that message directly collides with what Riyadh says publicly. So what's really going on here? Let's start with the moment that set the tone. During a recent exchange, President Donald Trump was asked about Saudi concerns that backing off a strike would embolden Iran. His response was cautious, almost familiar. Trump said some believe that, some don't. And if a negotiated deal can stop Iran from getting nuclear weapons, that's preferable. But he also admitted uncertainty about whether Iran would actually follow through, even as talks continue. That hesitation matters because Saudi Arabia is playing a very careful, very strategic game. Public position, diplomacy, and de-escalation. On the surface, Saudi Arabia has been remarkably consistent. It has repeatedly emphasized diplomacy, respect for Iran's sovereignty, and opposition to military escalation. In late January 2026, Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman personally assured Iran's president that Saudi airspace and territory would not be used for any attack against Iran. That promise wasn't symbolic. It means any potential U.S. strike would have to bypass Saudi airspace, forcing longer routes, more refueling, higher risks, and more complexity for Washington. Other Gulf states, like the UAE, echoed similar assurances. This public stance helps Saudi Arabia do three things at once: reduce the risk of retaliation, protect critical infrastructure, and preserve diplomatic ties with Iran, ties that were only normalized in 2023 through a China-brokered deal. On the outside, Riyadh looks like a stabilizing force, but privately, the tone is very different. In a closed-door briefing in Washington on January 30, 2026, Saudi Defense Minister Prince Khalid bin Salman reportedly warned that if the U.S. fails to act after repeated threats, Iran would come out stronger. Multiple sources described it as a blunt message: inaction erodes deterrence. The minister acknowledged escalation risks, but argued that backing down now would embolden Tehran's nuclear ambitions, proxy networks, and regional influence. A senior Gulf official at the same meeting summed it up starkly: a strike could have bad outcomes, but not striking could be worse. So why the double message? This isn't confusion, it's calculation. First, rivalry with Iran. Iran-backed groups like the Houthis have launched hundreds of attacks on Saudi targets since 2015. Weakening Iran benefits Saudi Arabia, especially if Riyadh doesn't have to pull the trigger itself. Second, dependence versus diversification. Saudi Arabia still relies heavily on U.S. weapons and security guarantees. But years of frustration, especially over Yemen, have convinced Riyadh that America may not always show up. So publicly, Riyadh hedges with China, Russia, and diplomacy. Privately, it pushes Washington to use its power. Third, risk management. If the U.S. strikes Iran, Saudi can quietly benefit. If it doesn't, Saudi avoids blame and potential retaliation. Either way, Riyadh preserves leverage.
Subscribe to One India and never miss an update. Download the One India app now.